The gang huddled in the dimly lit barn, the only sound their own quickened breaths. Outside, the heavy thump of slow, deliberate footsteps echoed through the night. Fred pressed a finger to his lips, signaling for silence. Through the gaps in the wooden planks, the moonlight cast eerie slashes across the floor, revealing shifting shadows outside. Shaggy squeezed his eyes shut. Tell me that's just a really big rooster sleepwalking. Velma didn't respond. She was already crouched near a crack in the barn wall, peering out. Her eyes widened. It's standing right in front of the doors. Daphne swallowed hard. Is it moving? Velma shook her head. No, it's just standing there. Scooby whimpered, his paws covering his eyes. Raggy. I don't like this. Lucy clutched Daphne's sleeve, her voice a whisper. It knows we're here. Outside, the scarecrow's outline loomed in the moonlight. Its long, tattered coat hung lifelessly, but the empty hollows where its eyes should be seen to bore into the barn. Then, without warning, the barn doors rattled violently. Shaggy yelped. Nope. That's it. Time to go. Fred grabbed his arm before he could bolt. Shaggy, we need a plan. Lucy's voice was barely above a whisper. We need to get to the house. It's the only place to hide. Velma adjusted her glasses. Agreed. But we can't go through the front. He's blocking the doors. Fred nodded. There's a back entrance near the horse stalls. We can sneak out through there. The gang moved quickly, keeping low as they navigated through the barn. The wood creaked beneath their feet, but outside, the figure remained unmoving. Lucy led them toward the back, pushing open a small side door. A gust of cold night air rushed in, carrying the scent of dry corn and damp earth. Fred peeked out. All clear. Let's move. One by one, they slipped out into the night, staying low behind the barn. The scarecrow still stood near the entrance, its back now partially turned. Shaggy let out a breath. Maybe it's just a really creepy decoration? Then it moved, not a slow, natural sway from the wind. A sudden, unnatural twitch. Its head snapped toward them. Run, Fred ordered. Lucy took off first, leading them through the tall corn stalks. The dry leaves scratched at their skin as they pushed through the maze-like field. Behind them, the sound of something rushing through the stalks followed. Scrush. S-K-R-R-S-H. Scrush. Daphne turned her head as she ran and immediately wished she hadn't. The scarecrow was moving. Fast. Its long arms swayed unnaturally, its legs dragging across the dirt, but somehow it was gaining on them. Shaggy's voice was high-pitched with terror. I don't want to be a scarecrow's midnight snack. Scooby howled. Run faster. Lucy pointed ahead. Almost there. The house is just past the clearing. They burst through the last row of corn stalks, the farmhouse coming into view. Fred grabbed the doorknob. It was locked. Lucy, do you have a key? She shook her head. Dad keeps it under the flower pot. Daphne dashed toward the porch, flipping over a rusted tin pot near the door. Her fingers closed around a small brass key. Got it. She fumbled with the lock, hands shaking as the sound of rustling stalks grew closer. Then thump. They turned. The scarecrow had reached the clearing. It stood at the edge of the cornfield, motionless once more. The wind tugged at its clothes, making it shift ever so slightly. Its hollow eyes seemed to glow under the moonlight. Lucy whimpered. It's waiting. The lock clicked. Inside. Now, Fred ordered. They rushed through the door, slamming it shut behind them. Velma locked it immediately, her fingers trembling as she turned the bolt. Silence. For a long moment, they stood there, listening. Nothing. Shaggy collapsed onto the floor. Well, that was a lovely little heart attack. Scooby panted beside him. We're right? Fred exhaled, running a hand through his hair. Okay, what was that? Velma adjusted her glasses. It's definitely not just an ordinary scarecrow. Daphne crossed her arms. But if it's someone pretending to be a scarecrow, how did they move that fast? Lucy's small voice broke through the quiet. It's not pretending. They turned to her. She stood near the window, staring out into the darkened fields. Her face was pale. It's real. Outside, in the distant cornfield, the scarecrow stood still, watching, waiting. And this time, it was closer than before. The farmhouse was eerily silent. The gang stood huddled near the window, their eyes locked on the scarecrow lurking at the edge of the field. It hadn't moved, but the mere sight of it sent shivers down their spines. Fred turned away from the window, rubbing his chin. All right, we need answers. If this thing is real, there has to be some explanation. Velma nodded, adjusting her glasses. Scarecrows don't just walk on their own. There has to be a trick behind it. Shaggy, still catching his breath, held up a shaky hand. Oh. Maybe we just accept that some mysteries are best left unsolved. Scooby whined, nodding. Right, case closed. Daphne shook her head. Not so fast. Something weird is going on here, and I want to know what. Lucy, who had been quiet, finally spoke. There's more. The gang turned to her. She hesitated, then lowered her voice. The scarecrow. It talks. A cold hush fell over the room. Fred frowned. You heard it speak? Lucy nodded. Not with words. It whispers. She hugged herself, eyes distant. At night, when the wind blows, you can hear it calling from the fields. Shaggy gulped. Calling for what? Lucy didn't answer. Velma crossed her arms. There's something else, isn't there? Lucy hesitated before finally nodding. I think it's looking for someone. Fred's brow furrowed. Who? The girl's voice dropped to a whisper. Me. The gang exchanged uneasy glances. Daphne crouched beside her. Lucy, why would it be looking for you? Lucy hesitated. Because I'm the only one left. Velma's eyes narrowed. Left of what? Lucy bit her lip before answering. The people who disappeared. Silence filled the room. Fred was the first to speak. Wait, you mean the missing animals weren't the only ones taken? Lucy shook her head. No, it started small first. My dad's dog went missing, then the cows. Then, 2 of the farmhands disappeared. Shaggy's face went pale. Did the scarecrow take them? Lucy's hands trembled as she looked toward the window. I don't know, but I think I'm next. A heavy stillness hung in the air. Velma tapped her chin. So, the scarecrow only moves at night. It seems to chase people. And now, we have reports of disappearances. She turned to Fred. I think we need to check out that field up close. Shaggy's jaw dropped. Absolutely not. Fred ignored him. We wait until it moves again. Then, we follow it. Daphne crossed her arms. And what if it catches us instead? Fred nodded. Then we'll just have to make sure that doesn't happen. Lucy looked out the window once more. The scarecrow hadn't moved. Yet. An hour later, midnight, the farmhouse was quiet. The gang sat in the living room, waiting. A single oil lamp flickered in the corner, casting long shadows across the wooden walls. Velma glanced at the clock. If it's going to move, it'll be soon. Shaggy hugged Scooby. I vote we barricade the doors and wait for morning. Daphne smirked. That's not how this works. Fred peeked through the curtains. Still nothing. Then the wind changed. A low, eerie whistle swept through the fields. The cornstalks rustled, not with the random movement of wind, but in waves, as though something was walking through them. Lucy gasped. It's happening. Velma shot up, grabbing her notepad. Let's go. Fred unlatched the door. Stay close. As they stepped outside, the night air was thick with tension. The moon hung low, casting an eerie silver glow over the fields. And then it was gone. The scarecrow was no longer at the edge of the field. Daphne's pulse quickened. Where did it go? A whisper carried on the wind. A slow, drawn-out sound. Lucy. The gang froze. Lucy's breath hitched. It's calling me. Fred turned to Velma. Did you hear that? Velma nodded. It wasn't the wind. Shaggy's knees buckled. Okay. That's enough proof. Time to go. Then, from deep within the cornstalk, something moved. A tall, dark figure stepped forward. Its ragged coat dragged against the dirt. The stitched-up face, the hollow eyes, it was walking toward them. Daphne whispered, "It's coming." Fred grabbed Lucy's hand. "Back inside, now!" The gang turned to run. But the farmhouse door slammed shut. Shaggy rattled the knob. "It's locked! It's locked!" Velma turned back to the field. The scarecrow was getting closer. Lucy's voice trembled. "It doesn't want us to leave." Fred clenched his jaw. "Then we make our stand here." The scarecrow stopped. It stood just at the edge of the clearing, watching. The wind carried another whisper. "Lucy?" Lucy swallowed hard. "What do you want from me?" The scarecrow lifted one arm and pointed at the barn. Velma's eyes widened. "It's leading us somewhere." Daphne shook her head. "Or it's leading us into a trap." Fred took a deep breath. There's only one way to find out. The gang turned toward the barn, hearts pounding. The scarecrow lowered its arm and began to follow.
Trembling knees are weak, but a Scooby snack will do the trick. Scooby-Doo, hurrah, where are you? Monsters, ghosts, and clues to pursue. Zoinks and jinkies, what will we do? Stick with the gang, we'll pull it through. Fred says team split up and look around.